Hello, this video is for August 25th, Tuesday. If you were not able to attend our whole group session or if you just need a quick review, that is what this video is for. So we were talking about how great readers always ask themselves questions as they're reading. If you're really engaged with the text, you're going to be curious about things. And in order to answer those questions, you're always going to go back into the text to find answers, to find that evidence that proves what your answer is. So we want to make sure we're being engaged with the text. We're curious. We're asking questions. If we're confused, we don't just accept that we're confused and keep reading, because guess what, guys? You're going to keep getting confused. You need to actually go back and find out what was happening if you're confused about something. We're going to practice this today by going back into the text and finding answers for questions. We were reading chapters 1 through 3 yesterday of Back to School Weird Kids Rule. We met Andrea and we met Arlo. We found out that Arlo has to stay with Andrea for a week because they had to leave vacation early in Bermuda and don't have anywhere to stay. Arlo and Andrea have quite an interesting relationship. I remember from reading that Andrea seems to really like Arlo and even refer to Arlo as her future husband. However, Arlo does not quite seem to have those same types of feelings because he referred to himself as her sworn enemy. So let's find out what is happening in chapter 4, The Ghost. I don't know how long I was sleeping, but sometime in the middle of the night, I heard something moving in my room. And then I heard an eerie voice, "Andrea, Andrea." I was in a deep sleep, and I had forgotten that Arlo was sleeping on my floor. I had just heard that creepy voice. When I opened my eyes, there was a big, shapeless creature standing next to my bed and scary shadows on the wall behind it. "Eek!" I screamed. Then I realized it was just Arlo, and that he had a sleeping bag over his head. "Andrea, Andrea." "Knock it off, Arlo," I told him. "I'm trying to sleep." "I'm not Arlo," he replied. "I'm the ghost of Arlo." "Oh yeah," I said. "If you're the ghost of Arlo, that means Arlo is dead." "That's right," he said. "He ran away to Antarctica to live with the penguins, but he fell off an ice floe and froze to death. It was tragic." I decided to play along. "What's your name?" I asked. "Name?" he said. "My name is the Ghost of Arlo." "That's not a name," I told him. "You're supposed to have a name. Ghosts have names." "How do you know ghosts are supposed to have names?" "How do you know what ghosts are supposed to have?" Arlo said. "Have you ever met a ghost?" "This is silly, Arlo. Take that sleeping bag off your head. You almost scared me to death." "You should be scared," Arlo said in a scary voice. "After you go to sleep, I'm going to paint your pink room black." "You are not." "Yes, I am. I'm going to hide under your bed," Arlo said. "And when you go to sleep, I'm going to replace your Barbies with G.I. Joe action figures, because that is what Arlo would do if he were still alive, which he isn't." "Don't you dare touch my Barbies," I warned him. "Then I'm going to take away your encyclopedia," Arlo said, "and I'm going to change all of your A's to F's on your next report card." "Go to sleep," I told him. "There's no such thing as a ghost. You're Arlo." "I am not." "R2. R2D2. At that moment, the door opened. Eek! Arlo and I screamed. It was Arlo's dad and my dad. "We heard a noise," Arlo's dad said. "Is everything okay?" "I'm dead," Arlo said. "This is my ghost." "Go to sleep," they both shouted, and then they slammed the door. Reason number 4 why I love school. We get to learn new things. Learning new things is fun, but most importantly, it makes the world a better place. The more you know, the better you are. Last year for Christmas, I got my electronic encyclopedia. It's like a paper encyclopedia, except that you can jump around from topic to topic just by clicking words. I like to look things up in the encyclopedia for fun. You never know what you might find. The other day, when I looked up gopher in my encyclopedia, while I was reading about gophers, I clicked on a link to pests. Go backwards. I started reading that, and then I clicked on the link to germs. That looked really interesting too, so I started reading it. There was a link to cheese, so I clicked it. Did you know there are 4,000-year-old pictures of cheese in Egyptian tombs? I never would have learned that if I hadn't looked up gopher. Okay, so I just finished chapter 4, and it's always good after you finish in a chapter book, pausing after you read a chapter, just to make sure you understand what was going on. Now, I remember that Arlo and Andrea were playing this game and he was pretending to be a ghost and trying to scare Andrea. But if I remember right, I remember that Arlo actually ended up screaming. And I can see that over here. At that moment, the door opened. Eek! Arlo and I screamed. So if Arlo's trying to scare Andrea, why is Arlo screaming? What's causing him to scream? This is what I want you to do. I want you to pause the video. I want you to look on your screen at this text and find out why Arlo started screaming. Okay? After you find the answer, I want you to write it down. And then I want you to press play on the video again to actually see if you are correct. Go back and find out what caused Arlo to scream. Why was he screaming? All right, so if you're back, you're ready. What did you write down on your paper? Did you write down that it's because Arlo's dad and Andrea's dad showed up? So right here, at that moment, the door opened. Eek! Arlo and I screamed. So let's find our answer. It was Arlo's dad and my dad. So right here, we find out that they were fine and they were playing, and all of a sudden there's this noise because the door's opening. And they scream, or we might not know there's a noise. I added that. I shouldn't have added that. At that moment, the door opened. So that door opening is what scared them and caused Arlo to scream. All right, let's go on into chapter 5 and see how it's going with Arlo and Andrea. Chapter 5, agree to disagree. Now, I'm already thinking about what this chapter might be about. I know when you agree with someone, that means that you share the same opinion. So for example, if I say pepperoni pizza is awesome, and you agree with me, you would also think that pepperoni pizza is awesome. I know that right here is the word disagree. I see agree again, but dis is in front of it, dis. This prefix actually means not. So when I see dis added to a word, it means not. So this means not agree. So this chapter must be about people agreeing and not agreeing with each other, disagreeing. Probably Arlo and Andrea, considering that's who these main characters seem to be about. So let's find out what they're agreeing and disagreeing about. Or just disagreeing. Let's find out. When we woke up the next morning, I could smell the yummy smell of waffles cooking. I love waffles. Arlo and I ran downstairs to pour the batter. When you help make the waffles, it makes them taste even yummier. You kids go play, my mom told us after we finished. AJ's mom and I will have coffee. Grown-ups sure love coffee. They drink it all the time. At school one day, the coffee machine broke down, and the teachers were walking around like zombies because they didn't have their morning coffee. I tasted coffee once. It was yucky. But when I'm a grown-up, I force myself to drink it because that's the rule. I always follow the rules. What do you want to play? I asked Arlo. I don't know, he said. What do you want to play? Too bad we can't start working on our homework to just get a jump on it, I told Arlo. I know, we can finish our summer reading. What? Arlo exclaimed. It's summer. I hate reading. We have to read all year long. I don't even like reading street signs during the summer. They should have summer not reading. Do you want to play dress up? I asked Arlo. I love playing dress up. No. I realized that Arlo was just going to say no to anything I suggested because that's what boys do. So I came up with a plan to make him say yes. Do you want to play with my Barbies? I asked. No, Arlo replied. Boys don't play with Barbies. That's just what grown-ups tell you, I said to Arlo. Are you going to let a bunch of grown-ups tell you what you can or can't do? That doesn't sound like you, Arlo. A man like you makes up your own mind, right? I was using psychology to get Arlo to play with my Barbies. My mom taught me how to do that. She's really smart because she went to Harvard. Okay, Arlo agreed. Get out your dumb Barbies. Yay! I got my Barbie collection out of my closet, and I have Ice Capades Barbie, Angel Princess Barbie, and Halloween Glow Barbie with the glow-in-the-dark hair extension. Can we cut their heads off? Arlo asked. Of course not, I said. Can we go outside and melt their faces with a magnifying glass? Arlo said. Absolutely not. Can we throw them out the window and see what happens when they hit the ground? Arlo asked. No. Then I don't want to play with your Barbies. That's not fair, I told Arlo. You said you'd play with them. Cutting their heads off, melting their faces, and throwing them out the window is playing with them, Arlo said. It is not. It is too. I'll tell you what, I told Arlo. Let's agree to disagree. Okay, so now this is making sense to me. The chapter was titled Agree to Disagree. And this whole time, it sounds like they've been arguing. They don't seem to get along very well. They're talking about how Andrea wants to play Barbies and AJ doesn't want to do that. And so now they're kind of having this back and forth, and he says fine, and he wants to melt their faces, but she doesn't want to do that. So now she finally says, let's agree to disagree. Let's just agree that we're not going to see things the same way. So now I know why that author probably titled that chapter this. No, Arlo replied. You won't even agree to disagree? I asked. The only thing I agree with is that you're wrong, he replied. This was not going well. I would have used more psychology. Arlo, if you won't agree to disagree with me, that must mean you agree with me. Arlo thought about that for a moment. I disagree with that, he said. Now you're just being obnoxious, Arlo. I am not. Stop fighting, my mother called from downstairs. Get ready, you two, because we have to go. Go where, Arlo and I asked. We need to go shopping for back-to-school clothes, shouted Arlo's mom. Yay! I love shopping for back-to-school clothes. Boo, Arlo said. I hate shopping for back-to-school clothes. The number 5 reason why I left school, it gives me a good education. Getting good education will help me become the high school valedictorian. Do you know what a valedictorian is? She is the student who gets the best grades in the whole school. I want to be the high school valedictorian because it will help me get into Harvard. My mom went there, and look at her. Going to Harvard will help me get a good job someday. I have it all planned out. When you plan everything out, there is no unpleasant surprises. So, we talked about how this chapter was about Arlo and Andrea disagreeing with everything. So, if they kept disagreeing, how come they started playing Barbies together? Why did Arlo actually agree to play Barbies? Let's go back and find out. So I'm going to flip back for you. And let's go back to the part where they finally talk about playing Barbies, which happened right here on these pages. So I want you to pause the video, and I want you to try to go back and find out why Arlo finally agreed to play Barbies. Write your answer down. Then resume the video. So go ahead, I will wait, pause that video. Okay, you ready? You sure? Okay, here we go. I asked you why Arlo actually agreed to play Barbies if they were fighting this whole time. So if we go back to where this happened, and they're arguing back and forth about saying no to Barbies, she said, Andrea, so I came up with a plan to make him say yes. Our answer's probably around here. Do you want to play Barbies? I asked. No, Arlo replied. Boys don't play Barbies. That's just what grown-ups tell you, I said, Arlo. Are you going to let a bunch of grown-ups tell you what you can or can't do? That doesn't sound like you, Arlo. A man makes up his own mind, right? And then down here, Arlo agrees. Okay, get out your dumb Barbies. So it kind of sounds to me like Andrea is pretty smart, and she tricked him into agreeing to play with Barbies by telling him not to let grown-ups tell him what to think or do. All right, let's check out our last chapter. We're going to go to chapter 6, First Impressions Count. Now, I know a first impression is when you meet someone for the first time and what they think about you. So they must have to do something with this chapter. Shopping is fun, and I don't think there's anything in the world that I love more than shopping. For clothes. Think of it. If we didn't shop for clothes, we'd be walking around all naked all the time. Ew, gross. We piled into my mom's minivan and drove to the mall, where they have this store called Macy's. It's a department store. That's a store that has lots of different departments, so it's a perfect name. When we walked inside, Arlo looked like we were taking him to his own funeral. Don't you want to go look handsome for the first day of school? I asked him. No. Arlo and his mom went off to the boys' department, and my mom and I went to the girls' department. There were so many important decisions to be made. Should I wear a long flowy skirt, or should I get a skirt? That's a skirt with shorts underneath. Should I get pleather pants? That's fake leather. Or should I get jeggings? Those are leggings that look like jeans. The outfit that I wear the first day of school is crucial because first impressions count. Oh, okay. So I know this chapter was about first impressions. And first impressions when you meet someone for the first time. And now she's talking about how She's getting her outfit for back to school because first impressions count, and it's crucial. It's important. It's so crucial that she gets that awesome outfit because people are going to see her and think about her. So that must be why it's called first impressions. I picked out a bunch of things and went to the fitting room. I tried on a short skirt, a long skirt, and a high-low skirt. Then I came out and looked into the mirror with my mom to decide which things looked the best on me. A few minutes later, after we started shopping, I saw Arlo and his mom coming over to the girls' department. They were carrying a bunch of bags. "You're done already?" my mom asked. He's a boy," said Arlo's mom. "We finished half an hour ago." "Can we leave now?" Arlo asked. "Leave?" we all said. "We're just getting started. Someday when Arlo and I are married, I'll get him to dress up in nice clothes. And he will look so handsome, but for now, I couldn't worry about Arlo. I had important shopping decisions to make. I tried on a fringe crop top with rhinestones on it. I came out of the fitting room and spun around so Arlo could see the full effect. "What do you think of this?" I asked. "I hate it." "Oh, you're just saying that to tease me," I told him. "You really love it, right?" "No, I really hate it." "I think you really mean the opposite," I told him. "You're right. I really love it," Arlo said. "You mean you hate it?" I asked. I wasn't sure if Arlo was using psychology on me or not. Shopping for clothes takes a long time. Poor Arlo was really bored. "But what am I supposed to do? You don't want to make a mistake and get stuck with clothes you'll never wear." I got a nice rainbow dress for picture day, and just for the fun of it, I got a pair of pink sunglasses and a bathing suit with butterflies on it to wear at the beach. I picked out all my outfits for the first 2 weeks of school, I told Arlo. "I don't like waiting until the last minute." "Then why don't you start planning your funeral now?" he said. Very funny. "Oh, look, Arlo. They even have little fuzzy purses that look like kittens. Isn't it adorable? I wonder if my mom will let me buy one." I turned around. Arlo wasn't there. "Arlo?" I walked around the rack of Hello Kitty shirts. He wasn't there either. "Arlo!" I shouted. He wasn't anywhere. "Arlo's gone!" "What?" both of our moms yelled. "One minute he was right next to me," I explained, "and the next minute he disappeared." "Maybe he went to the bathroom," said my mom. Arlo's mom started screaming and crying, freaking out. "My son is missing!" she shouted. "AJ, where are you? Somebody lock the doors. My son is gone!" An alarm sounded, and security guards came running over. Everybody was searching all over for Arlo. Finally, about 5 minutes later, we found him. He was hiding inside a big round rack of fake fur vests. "AJ, what are you doing in there?" his mom shouted. "I thought you'd been kidnapped." "I was pretending that I was an army fort, and I was hiding out from the enemy," he said. "What's the big deal?" Arlo's mom put her hand on her hips, so I knew she was really mad. But I think she was holding it in because everyone didn't want to yell at Arlo in front of everybody. "Andrea and I are just about done here," my mom said. "I'll go pay for these things, then we need to have lunch and go shopping for back-to-school supplies." "Yay!" I shouted. I love shopping for back-to-school supplies. "Boo!" Arlo shouted. "I hate shopping for back-to-school supplies." The number 6 reason why I love school: we get delicious, nutritious cafeteria food. Our lunch lady, Ms. LaGrange, always prepares lots of healthy options so we'll grow into big and strong. Arlo and his friends are always stuffing themselves with junk food and sugary drinks, but not me. Maybe I'll become a vegetarian when I grow up. All right, so these last 3 chapters have been full of lots of ups and downs between Andrea and Arlo. I've noticed that their relationship is pretty complicated and seems different. Throughout these chapters, I keep hearing about how Andrea still really likes him and keeps referring to him as her future husband. But do you agree with this? Do you think Arlo actually wants to marry her? After I go back through here, I don't see a lot of evidence showing that. He doesn't really want to do the same things as her. He doesn't want to play with her. So I'm a little curious about why she thinks that he likes her so much. So what you're going to be doing today is you are going to be going into Canvas and you are going to be answering 2 questions. How are Arlo and Andrea different? So you're going to be answering that in Canvas and make sure to use evidence. And also, I want you to explain if you think Arlo is enjoying himself at Andrea's and why or why not. On top of that, you're going to go back to yesterday's discussion post and you are going to reply to somebody. Meaning you are going to give a response if you agree or disagree with someone and explain why. Be sure that you are reading the directions very clearly when you are doing these assignments. And I will see you later.